Hi everyone, Dr. Liz here. Welcome to the Hypnotize Me podcast. I'm glad you're here, glad you're listening and learning, and hopefully it will help you with your journey along the way. I am a psychotherapist with a specialty in anxiety, insomnia, and deeper emotional healing. Hypnosis is one of the tools in my toolbox that I use to help people feel better and to help people be better. I do work all over the world. Please feel free to reach out and contact me if you would like some help. I've been an entrepreneur for most of my adult life. Built an award-winning company, sold it, and then focused mainly on my private practice. That gives you a unique perspective, especially my ability to work with people in business at all kinds of levels. Before I go, if you'd like to support the podcast, you can go and subscribe to the newsletter. And you'll get free hypnosis downloads that you can listen to immediately. Another way is to buy one of the downloads that I have for sale. I only have a couple up there, but they're good ones. They've stood the test of time. Or if you'd like to join my Patreon, that's an additional way to support the podcast. I made the decision to not run ads during my podcast because I really do see it as an act of service. I completely respect people who do have ads on their podcast, but it's just not my path. But a great way to show your own support for it is to join the Patreon. There's 3 different levels. At the highest level, you get direct contact with me at an extremely affordable rate. So if you're interested, pop on over there and check it out. All right, everyone, enjoy the episode, and I hope to see you back here soon. A pretty short episode, but I always like to give the results of the podcast survey after I run it. I run it about 2 weeks or until I get over 30 responses. 30 is sort of that magic number in statistics where you start to get some good percentages that tell you who people are, all that kind of good stuff. And I got more than that. Right now it's sitting right around 45 responses or so. So that's fantastic. Yay, I'm happy with that. And I know that'll just keep increasing the longer it stays open. But I thought I would let you know some of the results, particularly for those people who participated. And if you still want to participate, you still want to give comments or say who you are, then the link is in the show notes. So please feel free to go and do that so that I get your feedback. So the survey in general took about 2 minutes to take. That's it. SurveyMonkey actually tracks that for you. Like, how long is it taking people to answer your questions? So not long at all. 65% are between 35 to 65 years old. And then we get another 30% that are above 65. That was a surprise to me that it is skewing older than the last survey I did in 2019. I definitely had a good percentage between 25, 35 and 2019. But it also makes sense to me that as I'm aging, my audience ages with me. And if you're younger and listening to the podcast, kudos to you. I hope that at least some of my message resonates with you. Vast majority of listeners identify as female. Of course, I have all kinds of choices there for gender identity, but about 85% are female. That's pretty consistent for me. A lot of women listen to me, more so than men. Although 15% male, not a bad statistic there, but I've known for many, many years that I resonate highly with women in my previous profession as well. So I was a prenatal yoga teacher. That was all women, thousands of women that I taught. So I know for a lot of my life, I resonate very highly with women. All right, kids, how old are they? And if you have them. So biggest percentage is between the ages of 11 and 24. And then I get some percentages in, younger and then older, but the biggest percentage is between 11 and 24. Again, that makes sense to me because my kids are 18 and 22 now, and I talk about them and I talk about their lives and my parenting struggles that come up. So that's probably resonating with my audience who's listening to me, right, for that age group. I did have someone in the comments ask me to talk more about dealing with older kids, like graduating teens, how to let go. Also how to deal with like sneaking out and fake IDs and stuff like that. Someone said, how much can we make older teens listen to us or clean up their rooms? I love this question. I love it so much. So I am keeping those in mind as I move forward. I wish I could answer that right now, but that one I definitely have to give thought to. So love that. I did have a listener say it wasn't an option to put that she lost a child. So if you are listening to this, my heart goes out to you. It is always so sad to me when someone loses a child, and I don't have that option on the survey. A lot of these questions with the survey makers, you're just allowed to like put in certain options there. And yeah, they don't include that one. It's unfortunate for sure. We are a pretty educated audience here. Again, I gave lots of options here, including like vocational, school of life type of option. And 90% have some college or more. That's really high, I think. And gives me hope because it's like, yeah, the focus of this podcast is hypnosis, which means that educated people are more and more open to hypnosis, which is fantastic for me. I do talk some about research and that type of thing. And I know that often when someone goes to college, they become more interested in that because research is always emphasized in colleges. So that makes sense to me. 70% have bachelor's or 4-year equivalent or graduate or professional degree. So we are pretty educated as a listening whole. Okay, has the podcast helped you or someone you know in some way? People, I could have just asked this one question. Okay, like really, if I don't think the podcast is helping anyone, there's no reason to do it, honestly. It is my driving force here to help people with the podcast. So vast majority of you said yes. Okay, a great deal is right around 20%. So fantastic. A lot, 25%, a moderate amount, 22%, a little, 25%. None at all. I did get some of those, and someone in the comments said they've never listened to it, so it has never helped them. And it's like, okay, gotcha. Yeah, no way for the podcast to help you unless you've listened to it. Got it. I did send this out in my newsletter for people to take, like saying it's a podcast survey. So I think this actually helps me know who my newsletter readers are as well. And so this person would fall into that. They're on my newsletter. Apparently they like my newsletter enough to answer a survey for me, but they've never listened to the podcast. So got it. And then I asked what frequency is most helpful for you. Over 50% of you said, do whatever you like or you can manage. It doesn't really matter. And then the other frequencies that I put there, 1 time a month, every other week, or every week, are pretty even. The responses in those categories hang out right around 15% or so. And then I ask, what would you like to hear on the podcast in the next season? Or feel free to leave me a comment. So this was actually a little bit surprising because it has changed from the last time I did the survey. Everybody wants free hypnosis episodes. That's the same. Okay. But interviews with other people went down in percentage, and people want to hear more like emotional topics like decreased anxiety and depression, feeling more stable, different types of therapy, that type of thing. They want to hear more about that. That was very clear, and that was the highest rated category, even over free hypnosis episodes. So I will orient the podcast that way this year. That's a very important question for me because it tells me what to talk about in the upcoming year. 1 year, I think it was last survey. I don't know if it was last survey or the survey before where I had asked about research, whether people like hearing research. And the answer was no. Like, not a whole lot of people wanted to hear about research studies in hypnosis. So I stopped doing them. Very occasionally I'll talk about one, but I stopped the episodes that focused on them. So it really does guide me. Now let's talk about comments. Love your comments. Okay, love them. You chickens are so sweet. I say chickens because it's gender inclusive. Okay. And that's really important to my 18-year-old. Important to me too, that I use gender inclusive language. So I've settled on chickens. You chickens are so sweet. You wrote me the sweetest comments. Some of them are funny. Some of them are emotional. Some of them are thanking me for the podcast or perhaps for work we did together. Again, anonymously, but it just really helps me to see the comments and see not just what you want to hear, but also how the podcast has affected you. Oh, someone wrote in about the length, that their preference is for it to be between 30 and 45 minutes. I am right with you, by the way. Okay. I did not ask that question because I have to be pretty selective about what questions I ask to get people to even answer a survey and make sure it's quick for them. But I'm right with you, actually. When podcasts start running over an hour, these multiple 2-3 hour podcasts, I don't know how people do this. I don't know how they record them, but again, sometimes they're professional podcasters, that's how they're making their living. But also that means I have to listen to that over a week or two generally. But if I have a 20-30 minute podcast, I can listen on my drive when I'm taking my daughter to school and then driving to work. That one fits just right for me. So right there with you. So this actually ended up being a slightly longer episode than I anticipated. But hey, you guys know I like to, there I did. You chickens know I like to talk. Hey, I'm still probably going to say you guys from time to time. But you chickens know I like to talk. I like to talk on the podcast and give you some insight into what I'm doing and my thought process and the year ahead. So again, thank you so much to everyone who took it. And I hope everyone is healthy and safe. Peace. I hope you truly enjoyed today's episode. Remember that you can get free hypnosis downloads over at my website, drlizhypnosis.com, DRLIZ hypnosis.com. I work all over the world doing hypnosis. So if you're interested in working with me, please schedule a free consultation over at my website and we'll see what your goals are and if I can be of service to you in helping you reach them. Finally, if you liked today's episode, please subscribe to the podcast or tell a friend. That way, more and more people learn about the power of hypnosis. All right, everyone, have a wonderful week. Peace. This podcast is not mental health treatment, nor should it replace mental health treatment. If you need therapy or hypnotherapy, please seek treatment from a trained professional.